Hello, I'm Andy Luke and welcome to another deep dive of Press Gang Opening Series 2, Episode 1, Breakfast at Czar's. Breakfast at Czar's. We open with Lynda in her pyjamas, merciless with the red pen, signifying she is in workaholic mode. It's not where we left her at the end of Season 1. As far as repairing any damage Colin did with the gas, she's overcompensating. Breakfast at Czar's is tight. It lacks the odd stumble of even Series 1's best moments, and straining to find mistakes fits. The weird light or makeup on Lee Ross gives a look as if Kenny has been sweating or crying. That is the nature of their friendship. Kenny's call lets out the necessary information propelling the plot. That Kenny is her yes man, and Lynda's calling for an all-nighter at the newsroom. Breakfast at Czar's was first broadcast 18th of January 1990. As with all episodes, written by Stephen Moffat. Directed by Bob Spears, with an uncredited Jerry O'Hara on some of the sequences with the adults. According to Stephen O'Brien's episode guide, a second season was part of Central Television's original deal with Richmond Films. And this was filmed mid-1989, with post-production later in the year. Post-credits is a casual introduction of Gabrielle Anwar as Sam Black, as if she's always been there, which she has, because Sam is Julie in these first handful of episodes. Julie was to get main character status here, and is written accordingly. Then Lucy Benjamin was offered a part on 3 times a week B-Sky B soap opera Jupiter Moon. An odd concept, it was about university life in outer space. She was also contracted to LWT sitcom Close to Home, where she played the child of divorcees living with her father. I've heard it wasn't very good. Bill Moffat adapted this episode for Press Gang Book 2, Checkmate, and in it we're told Julie left for Glasgow Art College because the brochure photos looked the nicest, which is as good a reason as any. The developed character traits that would have been Julie's were embodied by Sam. Gabrielle Anwar gives a jolt of fresh air to the ensemble, a playful spiciness, and enough sass to serve as a counterpoint to Lynda without feeling abrasive to the viewer.
She's arrogant, opinionated, and impossible to deal with. Who does she think she is?
You?
We get Colin employing his usual tactic of denying a problem exists to solve a problem, and Fraz is finding his horoscopes are coming true, which is somewhat creepy. Going back to Stephen O'Brien's episode guide, this episode we learn Kenny is an Aries, Tiddler is a Sagittarius, Lynda a Virgo, and both Mr. Sullivan and Fraz are Libra. But also that Fraz has changed star signs since Series 1, which is a perfectly normal thing. I mean, it is Fraz we're talking about here. A brief bit of dialogue, shorter than my explaining it, makes a point that Kenny is moving around in Lynda's wake, trying to repair the damage she does. It's a relationship fundamental that Series 2 will hit on a lot. Rosie Marcel makes her first appearance, recast in the role of Sophie Jenkins, and Rosie will go on to carve out her own profile career as a British television actress. She's best known for over 600 appearances in the Casualty Holby City shared universe as career-oriented surgeon Jack Naylor. Not sure I could point to which of the duo is which, and that's okay, as Sophie and Laura do function like twins. The intro scene here feels juvenile, but it's a tactic to catch viewers off guard as they steadily return in their true guise as eldritch folkloric beasts. Helda Holmes' acting seems to have improved. Certainly her delivery is on cue regarding suspicions of their source Mayhew and his authenticity. Sarah has an incredible hoodie this episode. I'm going to have to top that. There you go, Kelda. Your outfit is contained in my outfit. This hoodie was made by my dear friends Joel and Ryan at Abu Wear. There's a link in the description. This episode's big bad is Councillor Peter Mayhew, named after the actor who played Chewbacca. Breakfast at Czar's has Press Gang Series 2 come out of the gate swinging, brimming with confidence, overflowing with humour, and a pacing of dialogue that's inspirational. There's a few key super sequencing comedy moments. Sam's filing cabinet flip off to Lynda, coming in at 3, then as a spoken line, and a coda literally as a curtain call. The second is Colin's workshop drop. Paul Reynolds has a physicality and timing that suits so well. Listen to how the sound mix complements this sequence.
I find everyone except Colin.
Look, Lynda, I found this dangerous saw. It was in one of the old storage cupboards. I'd better go and put it somewhere safe. And the hatchet. And the screwdriver. And that hammer.
And you can't beat Julius O'Hala for looking stunned and confused. Of course, the appearance of Colin is a misdirection of drama, a segue in the flow to Lynda's abysmal timing and the appearance of Spike. His lines are part joker, part ogler, but primarily savouring getting a rise out of her. Or so he thinks. It's a lot of time spent with her for a man with a date nearby. And a reminder that Spike is written as morally dubious, which Dexter Fletcher's charm does obscure somewhat.
Lynda's what?
Angela Bruce has had a fascinating career, and so it seems right we make her the subject of an extended special feature. Ta-da! Oh, there's meant to be some graphics in there. Julie, could you come here with the Angela Bruce special feature graphics? You should see it on screen now. Julie! Angela Bruce was born 6th of May 1951. Put up for adoption at 3 years old, she was raised in Craghead, County Durham. At age 15, she intended to follow her sister into nursing, but failed the exam. Her decision to go into acting came at the moment of her big break. In 1970, Newcastle Theatre staged a run of Hair, the prog rock musical climax with a be-in, where the audience is invited on stage to dance. Angela did so and was asked by the director to return for subsequent performances. Within 3 years, she'd landed a part in the original London run of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, taking over from Patricia Quinn as Magenta. There followed a feature film role and TV appearances. Angels was a realist hospital drama about student nurses at St Angela's, Battersea. Stories involved alcoholism, sexual promiscuity, less general hospital, more the Sweeney with nurses. Angela played Sandra Ling, initially cast for 1 episode. When the lead actress left after 10 episodes, Bruce replaced her, staying on for the first 4 years of the programme. As with Hair, producers were keen to show a multiracial cast, despite it being a time where racism was very much casualised in TV broadcast. She appeared in the 1978 season of Coronation Street as Janice Stubbs, a waitress at Dawson's Cafe who had an affair with Deirdre's love interest. Having an affair with Deirdre's love interest is contractually written into any Corrie role. Despite being a pioneer in breaking down racial barriers with high-profile appearances, including a grisly House of Hammer death in Charlie Boy, work didn't always come easily to Bruce. Sometimes this was down to her losing work to avoid roles with black femme stereotypes. And this occurred in much of the 1980s. She's simply iconic in 2 sci-fi roles, the raucous party animal and slob Deb Lister in Red Dwarf Romp, Parallel Universe, and the following year in Doctor Who Battlefield as Brigadier Winifred Bambera, in charge of Unit no less. As Chrissy Stewart, Bruce is very much in the DNA of Press Gang. Strong-headed, willful, she gives the impression of a reporter who has actually walked the beat, earning the assistant editor role, and perfectly capable of helming the paper herself. Bruce can give us hard-nosed and tender empathy in the same take, whether playing as a foil to Lynda or negotiating with Billy in How to Make a Killing, one of my favourite scenes. In some ways, she's the only adult in the room. Sullivan and Kerr overextend their friendliness at times. With Chrissy, we get a feeling that the buck stops with her, and Bruce plays her as such, that responsibility hanging on her shoulders. In the 90s, Bruce popped up all over British TV. Lovejoy, Sean's Show, The Bill, EastEnders, Only Fools and Horses. She returned to children's television in 8 episodes of The Ghost Hunter, which also enjoyed a reputation as groundbreaking. She was lead cast in Series 8 of hard-hitting ITV prison drama Bad Girls as Officer Mandy Goodhue. Lately, she's been in every one of the UK's plethora of hospital-based shows. Doctors and Nurses, Holby City, Doctors, Casualty, Doctors, Holby City. Oh, hang on. No, yeah, that's right. That's all the Doctors. Oh, and Big Finish have cast her in several Doctor Who stories, plus her Brigadier role reprised in Unit stories. So more than Doctor Who, Doctor All.
Apart from anything else, you're about to have a stampede of mums and dads dragging your news team away. Now listen.
Okay, thanks for the warning.
That was not a warning.
At the midway point, Breakfast at Czars reveals its uniqueness in story terms. It combines gimmicks of 2 of the best season 1 episodes, the self-descriptive Deadline and the bottle episode of A Night In. This plot is dictated by the course of Lynda and her mercenary qualities. It feels a little jarring in how her announcement of a lock-in is met with cheers, but only because this cast do not quite resemble children. What are you looking at me like that for? I'm 21. But you can imagine kids might quite enjoy being forced to stay up all night. Like camping? I do wish we'd see discontentment among a few of the extras, though Kenny's unease is noticed. Raymond Sawyer plays angry and angular Norbridge councillor Peter Mayhew with dark, sentient eyebrows that could give Paul Reynolds a run for their money. He had a 1975 TV film credit with John King's Demolition Man, but it was 1989-1990 his TV acting began with slots on London's Burning, Poirot, Grange Hill and Bottom. Those latter 2 are something of press gang nexus points that we'll come back to throughout this series. We get the briefest acknowledgement of Mayhew by Sullivan and vice versa, which tells us the 2 men have a rocky history, which is all we need on their contrasting characters. And similarly economical, a line highlighting the hard consequences of Lynda's actions. Spike's call to delay the party he's supposed to be at is essentially a call for backup, and is cut short by Lynda. Ciri Neal plays Charlotte with the appropriate amount of condescension for a physics student trapped in a room full of children. Ciri was best known for taking the lead role of Minty in 6-part drama Moondial. The series featured a healthy dose of BBC children's esoteric staples, ghost hunting and time travel to the Victorian age. I'm sure we've seen that somewhere before in this video. She followed it up with a minor part as Suki in the Rachel papers. Other press gang links have come more recently through work on Big Finish audio dramas, Doctor Who Unbound, Unit and Lawther Arkwright. Soala Neal's short interaction manages to convey the appropriate serving of acidic distaste. Now, it might just be me, but early Sarah is far more believable. Mainly this is down to how Hilda uses her voice. It's all fear, neuroses, paradoxically timid and bold. Perhaps that's because of the character's inexperience as part of a group, or partly because she's been sitting beside these 2 for so long. This is the first episode where we're seeing Colin's office. According to O'Brien's episode guide, it came about after it was noted how often Paul Reynolds could be seen mugging in the background of scenes. And it's the smartest choice, enriching his character, describing it, and building on the show's environment.
Rupert Murdoch.
That was me, I coughed.
It would be Aristotle Onassis.
Why?
There's someone in there.
The lesson of the trapped escapologist teaches Colin nothing, as he'll continue to dabble in management of magicians. Later seasons of Press Gang will give us an aftertaste of Colin as nefarious, maybe irredeemable scumbag. It's with this rewatch I'm reminded how often his journey is paired with a sense of deep personal failure. School years Colin definitely carries with him elements of the tragedy. In this way he functions as quite the mirror to Lynda. Many similarities to a point, I think, around Series 3, that work as a foundation stone for their unique friendship, or relationship.
Pacing the cage, Tiger?
The memorable hallway scene of Loveham's sneer-at-him flirtation wasn't in the shooting draft of the script. It was filmed weeks later as the episode came in short, so Moffat didn't plan for this big step here. But script right and the actors' electric chemistry gives us a believable build-up, deal clinch, and Lee Ross effecting an intentionally unbelievable reaction.
Lynda, I was...
I was going...
Yeah, neither was I. Oh, there it is.
Spike sabotages a kiss by mentioning Charlotte, a rookie mistake for a player, or so I'm told. It tells us about the politics in their relationship. Neither character is set in stone on issues of class and showing affection publicly, but both themes are certainly in play. And Lynda's final riposte is a bit of delightful and applicable barbarism.
I'd rather fail all my school exams, be unable to get a job, wander the streets destitute with a bottle, and be found dead of hypothermia on a riverbank.
Flirt!
On the Series 2 DVD commentary, Moffat says Lynda was his favourite character to write for. How he would listen to his producer, Sandra Hasty, tough-talking, and sometimes take her words for Lynda, and sometimes just to wind Hasty up. We had a fun little sequence with Sonia trying to come to terms with living in a universe where Lynda is her boss. And there's a neat callback and role reversal to the running gag of Lynda waiting outside the toilets for Sullivan. Caught between Spike and Lynda, Nick Stringer balances the acceleration of drama with comedic reactions. He maintains an air of severity which the plot demands, and sets up another of those super sequencing comedy moments.
What you don't seem to realise, what none of you seem to realise, is that you are in the midst of a very serious situation. And I mean very serious. Is there a good explanation for that?
Yes.
Fine.
It's one of my all-time favourites from the show and inspired me to create my very first GIF. Sullivan doesn't suffer fools, and that's a reprimand directed at everyone. Yet he knows his kids, listens to them, and there's enough faith in Sarah, a little twinkle in his eye, and distrust of Mayhew that he can pivot back to kindly uncle mode, looking very tired as he does so. He's playing a character and story trope in children's literature, and Stringer does so convincingly do this, at least as well as can be done in the show's contextual reality, I think. Before the showdown, a brief pause in dark comedy as Lynda takes a Sophie and Laura-shaped hand grenade and lobs it in Charlotte's direction. One tabloid-sponsored haircut coming up. The driving plot thread of this episode is the closure of Wellside, which Mayhew at the top of the council assured them wasn't happening. Interesting direction by Bob Spears to have Sullivan and the kids lit as mob around the desk lamp, accentuating the showdown. It does a quick job of telling us Sullivan has already been clued in on Sarah's findings. Mayhew is typical of a press gang adult bad guy, one of a string of politicians or corporate figures who just want to foil the plans of those meddling kids. And we've seen co-director Jerry O'Hara use similar lighting on Mayhew earlier in his confrontation with Chrissy. That one began with an external establishing shot, and from it we can see the Gazette house looks similar to the daytime shots we've seen in Series 1, Episode 1. Although Series 2 was shot at Pinewood Studios, the crew travelled to Uxbridge for some external shots. Story is set at night, sure, though I think the establishing shot also accentuates Reuben Sawyer's darker appearance and his tone. Mayhew's U-turn on Wellside calls back to the opening scene. And though it's Sarah framed as the ace reporter, his motive of embarrassing the paper seems like the sort of thing Lynda would more keenly pick up on. It takes one to know one. There's a lovely little moment too of the kids being backed up by Chrissy and Sullivan. My notes from the read, I'm shipping Bill Sullivan and Chrissy Stewart. Make of that what you will. Although this episode is pretty low on the count of phone affecting plot, it's essentially the same mechanics. It's a story about communication, how messages travel and where they travel to. There's a subterfuge in that, and the story twisting in the familiar way an old red phone cord would. A high-stakes climax solved by stressing the value of negotiation. And so we get to our reveal of the innocuous episode title. And this in turn inspired the title of the Press Gang Zine, edited by Stephen O'Brien. O'Brien also wrote the leading episode guide, and zines and guide are included with the DVD releases of Series 2 and 5. In issue 3 of the zine, published autumn 1994, Mark Whittingham states Czar's was situated on Hershey's Road, Uxbridge, and was called Gordon and Eve's OK Cafe. However, I've also got an address for it at 20 Oxford Road, Uxbridge, source unknown. Maybe this is an internal-external confusion? Google Maps outside the Oxford Road location reveal that in 2025 there's a very Czar's-like burger bar. Mark Whittingham, in his Visiting the Location report 30 years ago, tells us Gordon and Eve's was, quote, a butch working man's cafe, where testosterone drips down the walls. It was also used in an episode of The Professionals, and since, the cafe closed and has become a hairdresser's. We've already seen Czar himself and a waitress, Maria, in Series 1, and in Series 2 it'll become a firmer second location. The bow on this episode is an intriguing set of paradoxes, catch-22s, cats belonging to Schrodinger. Lynda hasn't won, but looks like she has won. They printed the edition they were going to trash. And Spike missed his date for nothing.
Asmodeus, Satanas, Lucifer.
The end credit dialogue this episode is Spike and Lynda bickering about the maybe kiss. A fun little piece. If you've enjoyed this deep dive into Breakfast at Czar's, give it a like and hit that subscribe bell. Make sure to leave a comment too, because I won't unlock the door until you do that. I'd like to thank my video production assistant Andree Wood at Ditto Multimedia. You can check out those art skills at instagram.com/dit0gram_, link in the description. And a big shout out to all my patrons who make this happen with their support and cash. Patreon membership begins at £1 per month, and there's an average of 8 pieces of first look content in that per month, which appears weeks, months, even years in advance, and some really cool archive stuff as well. So we'll be back here next week as we pick up the fine print on episode 2, picking up the pieces.